You think your cheap old pool matters? That's what she sneered, right there at my back fence. Clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, barking into 911 about toxic fumes. It was 3 a.m. The world was silent except for the slap of her voice off the wet pavement and the hum of my pool pump. The chlorine smell was just the same as always, but the way she waved those papers made it feel like I was on trial in my own backyard. I stood barefoot, half awake, damp air clinging to my skin, watching her realize I wasn't moving an inch. The dispatcher pressed her for proof. Her eyes flickered, like maybe for the first time she wondered if she'd gone too far. Would you have let her in? I'd love to know. My name's Darius Miller. I run IT systems at the local hospital, lived in this quiet little neighborhood for a dozen years. I thought I'd seen every HOA trick in the book, but this was a new level. What woke me wasn't a fire alarm or some emergency from work, but that kind of urgent banging that shoots straight through your chest, makes you think something's burning down. I stumbled to the kitchen window and saw a shape, silhouetted by my pool gate, waving papers like she was summoning the rain. The sprinklers were misting in the security lights, making everything feel half real, half nightmare. I stepped outside in pajamas and house slippers, still trying to shake off the confusion. Then I recognized her, Malene Pierce, our HOA president, clutching her clipboard like it was a lifeline. She'd always seemed normal at the block BBQs. Maybe a little too intense about recycling, but nothing that screamed, maniac at your gate before sunrise. Darius, thank goodness you're up, she called out, voice all business. We need immediate access to your pool area for heat testing before the certification reviewers arrive at dawn. This is standard protocol. The way she said it, you'd think midnight pool invasions happened every Thursday. My brain lagged. Heat testing? At 3 in the morning? On my property? She started rattling off jargon, temperature baselines, thermal photography, compliance documentation, her confidence designed to steamroll questions. We need to record proper heat distribution patterns before sunrise, she insisted, waving an official-looking checklist. For a second, she almost had me second-guessing myself. Maybe this was some green initiative I'd missed in those HOA emails I never read. But then I remembered, nobody asked, and I never agreed to anything like this. Just as I was finding my spine, Elena appeared behind me, robe tight, hair wild, eyes sharp from years as a legal assistant. Darius, what's going on? She asked, and when I explained, her face went from sleepy to stone-cold serious. HOA can't mandate testing on private property without written consent, she snapped. That's basic law. Malene's jaw ticked, but instead of backing off, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. My stomach dropped as I heard her conjure an emergency. Chemical exposure, strong odors, respiratory danger. She was weaponizing emergency services to get at my pool. I started recording. I had to. The dispatcher was skeptical. Has anyone been evacuated? Visible danger. And Malene started to stumble. We haven't been able to conduct proper safety testing because the homeowner is refusing access, she claimed, making me sound like I was poisoning the block. Elena's legal instincts kicked in. She spoke up, calm but firm. There's no emergency here. I'm recording this interaction. The operator promised to send someone to assess. While we waited, Malene prowled my property with her eyes, taking photos, pretending to document a hazard, but clearly cataloging my string lights, my patio furniture, my old sedan like ammunition for a future complaint. That's when it clicked. This was personal, and she was building a case. 15 minutes later, Officer Mark Lewis arrived. You could tell he'd handled HOA nonsense before, but even he looked confused by this mess. Ma'am, I'll need to see the specific bylaw that grants you authority to access private property for testing at any hour, he asked. She couldn't produce it. He started taking notes, asking about written consent, documentation, everything. Her answers kept unraveling. I kept recording, timestamp glowing at 3:15 a.m. As the report was filed, Malene muttered, "This isn't over. Some people need to learn what community means." There was a chill in her voice that stuck with me long after she left. That night, Elena and I realized this was just the beginning. Next morning, over coffee, our neighbor Rebecca Shaw showed up. She's an accountant, reads everything, catches what the rest of us ignore. She dug into the so-called green certification program. Turns out, it was about a $30,000 county grant. The higher our community's energy efficiency rating, the more matching funds we'd get for landscaping and upgrades. But how does that justify invading private pools? Elena asked. Rebecca slid over an email from Malene to the certifiers. Darius Miller's pool area will bring our median score down beautifully. My jaw locked. She'd been using my old pool as the bad example to boost the neighborhood average, setting me up as the control group without my knowledge. Also, the HOA could look better on paper. Every friendly conversation, every compliment on my practical landscaping had been about using my property to game the system. And the grant? County rules required written homeowner consent for any data collection. Malene had been filing fraudulent paperwork and exploiting negative examples for cash. Rebecca found more systematic bias. Old cars and simple yards like mine always got negative marks in HOA evaluations, while expensive SUVs and fancy gardens were praised. It was subtle, but real, bias disguised as standards. Elena's legal mind zeroed in on our insurance policy. If our property was used for commercial purposes without consent, our coverage could be voided. That harmless pool testing could have cost us everything. Then we checked our smart home logs. My irrigation system had been reset to 2:50 a.m. the same day the HOA's thermal photos appeared in their brochure. A drone, caught by my security camera, hovered over my backyard that night, red light flashing. This was coordinated technical intrusion, not just HOA nagging. I spent the rest of the day locking down my network, changing every password, setting new alerts. But that afternoon, Malene was back, this time with a maintenance guy holding a motion sensor disguised as a garden fixture. We're conducting final compliance verification, she said, all smooth as ever. But the worker cracked under pressure, admitted it was to record pool activity, and he'd been told homeowners had approved it. I was done playing nice. I blocked her path, told her to leave, called Officer Lewis back. Elena documented everything. The maintenance guy confessed they'd been visiting other houses too, installing similar devices under fake approval. Meline's explanations unraveled. Her papers turned out to be blank forms and company brochures. Officer Lewis treated it as a criminal investigation, not just an HOA dispute. Other neighbors started coming forward, sharing stories of unannounced visits, phony compliance checks, threats about property values. By that evening, Rebecca announced she was running for the HOA board. People cheered. Meline's professional mask crumbled. She tried to bribe me with promises of favorable treatment if I dropped the complaint, then attacked my character publicly when that failed. We took everything to a Zoom mediation, expecting the usual brush-off. Instead, 17 households showed up. One by one, people described being targeted, manipulated, and harassed. The ombudsman listened, shocked at the evidence. Rebecca's spreadsheets showed how much taxpayer money was at stake. My network logs, the security footage, and Officer Lewis's reports tied everything together. The ombudsman ruled hard. Private property requires written consent. End of story. But the fight wasn't over. Some neighbors worried about property values, others about legal exposure. Meline tried to divide us, even using coded language about who fits the community. Elena called her out on it, legal voice calm and precise, right as Rebecca publicly declared her candidacy for the board. The tide turned. More neighbors joined, sharing their own HOA horror stories. By the time Meline lost her cool in front of everyone, ranting about ungrateful residents, Elena was recording. She handed Meline formal notice of the criminal investigation. Officer Lewis and other agencies were now involved. Within days, the certifiers banned our community from the program. County auditors launched a probe. The state HOA board suspended all authority, appointed Rebecca as interim president, and started emergency elections. Criminal charges for fraud, computer trespass, harassment. Meline's face went white when the DA's office joined the call and announced she'd be served that day. She was banned from HOA work statewide, facing thousands in restitution, legal fees, and fines for wasting emergency resources. Other communities, it turned out, had been targeted by her, too. 6 months later, I'm sitting by the same pool, early morning sun on the water, everything quiet again. Meline's serving 6 months in county jail, 2 years probation. Rebecca's new HOA bylaws protect property rights, demand transparency, and guarantee no more secret testing or fake emergencies. Our community is stronger. Monthly open meetings, a legal defense fund, an annual property rights barbecue where neighbors share stories and kids learn about their rights. Funny how one sleepless night can change everything. Our story's been featured in local papers and even shaped new state laws for HOA accountability. The property rights protected signs are more than a warning, they're a promise. Looking back, I realize it was never just about the pool or a clipboard at 3 a.m. It was about dignity, the right to be left alone in your own home, and the strength you find when you stand up, record everything, and refuse to be intimidated. So what would you have done? Would you have opened the gate or stood your ground? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's your line when it comes to community authority and personal rights? Stay safe out there. And remember, sometimes the only thing standing between you and a nightmare is the courage to say no, not tonight.